big problem people have with Superman is changing the lore. I think this is awful. It's awful because I see a trend. It makes Superman similar to other characters like Robert Pattinson's Batman, where his birth parents are suddenly revealed to be evil.
By the way, that's grossly misunderstood, but yeah.
Yeah, but it also makes him akin to Ray. Ray is the descendant of Palpatine, pure evil, and now turns against her heritage to be good. Superman, unbeknownst to him, he misunderstood. How would Superman feel if he saw that message as a young boy being revealed to him, if he saw the full message? I have a huge problem with that change. Huge. And
they made him a Viltrumite, basically, right? I mean,
it's like, is this a trend where your birth parents are shitty? The only way to be good is to be against your birth parents. There's something in a book, honor thy mother and father. Right? Count. Alan, where's that honor thy mother and father?
Chris, can I ask you a question about what you're just saying?
Yes.
How does it change the lore?
Because in a way, the El's House of El, Jor-El, is God, and they're sending their son to Earth. And I think people read into that, right? And so I think it changes it. It's almost like you're saying, it's also I just don't, because in every incarnation we've seen the L's, Jor-El and Lara.
Why is he wearing the suit still then?
Good, virtuous people. Yeah, why is he wearing the symbol?
Why didn't he take that off?
That should be a swastika.
If it doesn't mean
hope. Wait a minute. In the movie, if you listen to what Jor-El actually says, he's sending Superman to Earth. He says, listen, these are weaker people than we are. I'm sending you to help the planet, and if you can procreate as much as you could, you have a harem. He says harem. You're dealing with an alien race, and we've never seen an alien race depicted that has a different set of, let's call it, values or morals than we do.
Right.
And basically, he's still saying, please go help the people of Earth. And God. He
says they're weak of body and spirit and mind, and to lord over them.
Then the mother okay, but wait a minute. Hang on a second.
To rule. This is horrible headcanon.
Hang on a second. Why is that a bad thing? You're dealing with an alien race that is physically incredibly superior to Earthlings, and he's looking at this planet. He's going, you know what? That planet could very much benefit. It's not like Earth is in a great place.
Over the universe? You're asking why is that a bad thing to rule over these humans without mercy? Correct? Why is that a bad thing?
Yeah,
rule over them without mercy. Superman is now this symbol of hope, and you love this movie, and you're saying that it's not a bad thing that Jor-El said, rule over them.
I'm not saying
it's many wives and lord over them without mercy.
Okay, here's the thing.
Really?
You're imposing our view of Earth on what's good or bad. You're talking about an alien civilization that is millions of years more advanced than we are. And the idea is, when Superman finds this out, he is now of Earth. No. And by him, now hang on a second.
Part of this.
By him rejecting that, because he was raised by Ma and Pa Kent, Ma and Pa Kent's influence over Superman becomes more important, because by the end of the movie, when he says, I am a human being, I get up every morning and I fear, he's become us. And he's going to reject what his parents say, that is an entirely different culture with entirely different morals, with entirely different, is incompatible with Earth. And Superman will have to deal with the reality that he never knew, but he is now of Earth. He's not of Krypton. So he will summarily reject what Lara and Jor-El expected of him, because he doesn't know what it's like to live on Krypton. Okay,
all he knows is what he reject it to begin with. Why is he now saying, this is why did he reject everything that they said to begin with?
Because it was good.
Raised by Ma and Pa Kent, and their influence is more important to him than
because they were saying the same thing.
then how come it's Ma and Pa Kent is what soothes him at the end of the movie and not at the beginning of the movie?
Because the first half of the message was, "We love you, our son."
Then if that doesn't matter to him.
That was the point of the story, though. In the end, was why does Superman be Superman? Does he do it because it's his destiny bestowed upon him by his birth parents?
No.
Or is it because of how he was raised?
It's nature versus
by
nurture.
his humanity that he can do good, so he does help people. That's why he chose to be Superman.
And
in the end,
part of it, by the way, he didn't know that he had never heard that message, what his parents were saying about ruling over the world and having a harem and doing all those things. He didn't hear that at all.
And he didn't hear
all he heard was his parents love him.
Yeah.
And that they, they want the best for him. That was it.
And he didn't hear the part where his parents said, "Open a chain of dry cleaners."
See, that was the part that I actually don't mind it. I don't mind that exploration into it actually makes. I'm a Smallville fan, so that's why maybe this was okay for me. Because Smallville starts out writing Jor-El as an antagonist, and it lasts for I think a few seasons, and it made for made it for entertaining TV. It was interesting to watch something new with that backstory. And at the end of the day, it was the Kents that was important. That was the most important to him, and that's who he chose to live by their morals and principles. That's what made him be Superman.
And it's showing.
The one concern I have is that the first thing he would have heard was the broken initial message of his actual parents. How did he know that was right? And the fact that it aligned with Ma and Pa Kettle, was that an accident? So, I mean, we could discuss that, where he's lucky that the broken initial message aligned with how we view Superman. I actually didn't mind that twist.
That seemed like the point of the movie, but
it also reiterates that parents love their children. And I think what was really interesting is that we're seeing Krypton in a different. Krypton's not us, and to expect it's always, Jor-El and Laura, and they've deconstructed Kryptonian civilization through different things throughout the years. I mean, Jor-El wasn't even a part of the comics until 7 years after Superman was created. So it's like, I think it's really interesting that they made the people there. It's like, here's what you can do, son. It's a.
Why haven't Kryptonians taken over the galaxy then? The universe? Why haven't they taken over if they're
dead?
Yeah, they're gone.
Before, thank you everyone, revisionists. If this is their lasting legacy, why were the Kryptonians not known for taking over everything?
Because there were probably other planets.
Because
they were an evolved species.
Because the rest of the universe. Remember, we're a product of a yellow sun. We're millions of years less evolved. The Kryptonians were in part of
they would just fly and take over places with yellow suns.
But they're not. But they're not.
That's why this is
not the
only real problem.
They're not the only planet out there.
They're not. They're not necessarily they're speaking specifically about Earth.
Smallville was a fucking television show. The Batman is in Elseworlds. This is supposed to be the next 10 years of the DCU. And I know, Robert, you said that thing about if we're going with it's not canon or whatever, that it hasn't been following canon since the original, because originally Superman couldn't fly. You know what we mean, man. The most established, liked canon, like Superman the Animated Series, that's what we were hoping. So you have 10 plus years. And now, by making this narrative change, so for one movie, Superman could choose nurture over nature, nature over nurture, you've now ruined all of Krypton, or you've put it in a very specific hole.
But how, I mean, in the last movie, we saw Kryptonians come to Earth to try and kill all of mankind.
Yeah, but that was Zod.
Is Zod going to be a hero?
Zod is
a hero.
But Zod just had a differing political view from Jor-El, and a very valid one at that. And
so are we saying basically Zod is going, or Jor-El is now our stand-in for Zod?
No, but
I wanted Jor-El to be Jor-El and Superman to be Superman. And
parents who loved him.
Yeah,
but they were parents who loved him. I mean, look, they really, if you think about it, they haven't changed the lore. All Jor-El was saying is, we're sending you to this particular planet, which I've never been to, but we've done the research. And it's like, if you want to help these people, you have an opportunity to bring up their genetic stock make them much stronger than they are. And if you had a world full of people that were as powerful as you because you're under a yellow sun, you're going to make this planet one of the greatest bunch of people in the universe. That's why we're sending you there. Now,
yeah, but
but the thing is, what you guys are actually objecting to is the language or the suggestion in how he does it. And like if
they reacted the exact same way in the movie. Like the movie is us. We're like, wait, what the hell is he talking about?
Right, because
you're coming to subjugate us. I ain't feeling that. I'm not feeling that as a human being. If an alien came down to Earth right now and said, hey, I'm going to subjugate you. I'm going to make love to all your women and have lots of kids. And I'm just going to slowly but surely replace every earthling here. You would be pissed. You wouldn't be saying, hey, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah,
hey, I can't wait to get my do it. No, you're going to be pissed off because that's evil. That's bullshit. I'm not rocking with that.
But you're imposing Earth morality onto an alien civilization.
Yes.
Yeah,
and this
I'm on Earth.
Well,
I'm on Earth. I have my morality.
Better morality. That's the problem.
Yeah, I feel like, again, if we were to look at it across the board, any country going into some other country trying to impose their values on that other country would probably be considered as not a good thing. So it's the exact same thing with Krypton coming to Earth and doing the exact same thing. I don't see there to be a
twist. Yeah, remember how we brought democracy to Iraq?
I just think there's been so many reinventions of Superman in recent years in film and television. We've seen so many things, and I think they realize we all know what the core, most well-known version of Kal-El's story is, and I think they just wanted to do something different that led to more creative storytelling possibilities in the future. Which it could be. They could be paving the way for seeds that could lead to an interesting examination of whatever society is on Krypton, which I'm sure in the new Supergirl film will do that, because this does lead to questions about Kara. Like
there's something I got to interrupt for a second. Badger, if you would read the super chat from Yellow Flash, he brings up a great point. This was discussed on Flashcast, and it's worth discussing if you would read that.
Supergirl grew up on Krypton. Why did she not take over the Earth? Where are her F-boys? Yeah, where's her harem? Why didn't she tell Clark the full message? It's a plot hole.
Is this a plot hole, Rob?
No.
Thank you, Flash.
I don't think it is either.
No, and also, where are fuckboys? I mean, how many children can one woman handle? I mean, it's like it's not, the reverse is not true. You know, and the whole thing, when you see Tom King's Supergirl story, I would assume is going to fill in, the next movie is going to deal with this very thing. And I find it interesting that, look, you guys, we have to grow up here. And you have to understand that if an alien race was going to meddle in the affairs of Earth, they're not just going to be nice and kumbaya about it. I mean, we're so used to dealing with things because it was presented to the way it was for children. You know, and you had to remember we are a different audience now. And I like the idea that the Kryptonians said to Superman, we want you to make the Earth a better place. How we think to do it might be, you know, they're not thinking they don't know about our morality necessarily. They don't know about our belief system. I mean, there's like someone has to lead the planet. And if you're sending your son that you know is going to be phenomenally more powerful than anybody else on this planet, who would you rather have lead? I mean, any of our little tribal leaders that we replace every 4 years, or kings and queens, who else on the planet should lead it?
I think this whole thing was a huge mistake. Like when I said like there was a part that I hated, this was the part that I hated, and I'll tell you why. Really, you know, we can get into all the philosophical debates about, you know, aliens and right and wrong and this and that. The reason why I think this is stupid and why this should not have happened is James Gunn had one chance to finally get Superman right. And I'm talking to someone who liked the film. I really liked the film, but this part of it is like a stain on the film for me, because I'm like, look, here's the thing. We really didn't need it. That's my point. We didn't need it. We didn't need this part of the story. We could have just had that message from Jor-El and Laura, and that could have been it. And we didn't have to even address this. And we could have just had our Superman story. We had the loving parents on Krypton. We have the loving parents here on Earth. And we needed to keep that part simple. That's all we need to do.
See, but this change makes Superman, it gives him more agency into who and what he wants to be.
But he already had that.
How did he have
already
that?
Superman when we start the film? So he had his morals already from not
because
from
he was raised by Earth parents. He was raised with human values.
Sure, but at the same time, he still had that first part of their message, right? Of the Kryptonians' message, right? Which was do good and this and that. They didn't have the other half of the message, right? We didn't need that other half of the message. All we needed was that part of it. Now, if James Gunn would have did something clever, like say, guess what? The engineer corrupted the message, right? Like the engineer is the reason why we got that.
Could have.
And he still could have, and they should. And honestly, he should have done that at the end of the film. Established that the engineer corrupted the message, and that would have been just an easy way to end this. But instead, he's created this problem in this movie where it didn't need to be.
Let me ask y'all a question.
Is it a problem? Can I speak to this?
It's a problem for a lot of people. Yeah.
Can I?
I would say that makes it more interesting.
Yeah. Can I speak to this? Look, I've mentioned many times, I'm not a Superman fan, didn't read the comics, not a big DC fan. My knowledge of Superman is the movies, the TV show, and, basically what everyone in the world has seen. So I don't know. My issue here is my knowledge. If you were to ask me to define who Jor-El is Superman's dead father from the planet that blew up that was played by Marlon Brando. I don't know anything of Jor-El beyond that. And I would venture to guess that the average moviegoer who's not a big comic book fan feels the same way. He's just a guy. He just happened to be Superman's father. And what I'm finding problematic is that it sounds like we're painting Jor-El as Jesus or as God, as some virtuous person, which he was a good person. He didn't do bad things. He wasn't a criminal, but I never saw him as this great moral guy.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In Superman, the movie, would you say that all the Kryptonians that we saw in that film were good moral people?
Yeah, see that's the point I also wanted to make is that how do we know that the Kryptonians are actually good people, and then maybe Jor-El is the bad guy saying this is a
Jor-El be reasonable.
Yeah, I mean this is to respond to Yellow Flash's question of why Supergirl's not. Maybe everyone else is good, and Jor-El has I'm not going to make that canon in any way, but I can certainly make that case. What did I answer your question or?
Well, no, Yellow Flash made a good point. With why doesn't Supergirl say this is the real translation? Or I heard what happened. Maybe she just got back. I mean, she doesn't. I mean, I feel like, and they're going to probably change her lore then, her origin.
Well, I mean, that's my point. Is maybe Krypton is not as evil as we're painting it out to be. Maybe it's Jor-El.
Right.
Or maybe there's something with the message in its entirety, because honestly, I was put off from the very beginning with the message because the way it was played, they didn't come across as loving, concerned parents. They seemed very flat and emotionless to me. So from the get-go, I was like, this is kind of odd, the way they're talking, that their emotions weren't coming across in their tone of voice. Even if it was nefarious, they didn't sound like uber passionate about the preservation of their genetic heritage. Like, I just felt like there should be a more emotional tone to it. So I can't rule out the possibility that the message in its entirety has been corrupted, possibly by Brainiac. If there's a Zod connection with that too, that could be explored further. I just think we can't be dogmatic about that there might not be a future plot twist that's brewing right now.
Yeah. Plus there's that missing minute in the middle of the video that no one saw.
Yeah, I think there's an absolute missing element to this. I think James Gunn knew these conversations. I think James Gunn knew these conversations were coming because you do that to a character like Jor-El. Like, he had to know that all of these conversations were going to come on the back end of it. So did he do it on purpose, knowing that everybody's going to be talking about this? We're going to all have these conversations. What is his intentions with all of this? Because like Dante said, he could have easily put this to bed in the post credits and been like, oh, it was, Lex Luthor fiddling with the numbers or fiddling with the translation. And that's that. So does James Gunn have a plan for this? I think he has to at this point.
Well, what the plan is? The plan is the fact that Superman's values were guided by the parents who raised him and not the parents who gave birth to him.
Yes,
to me, that is the story.
That's what I'm thinking too. I think that James Gunn wanted a Superman that's not all powerful, and right now, and that's why, like, in the movie, he is not at his full strength. It's mentioned multiple times in the movie that he is not at his full strength throughout the movie, and James Gunn didn't want him to be an all-powerful Superman. He wanted a more relatable, more human Superman, and what better way to do that than to have him look up to his human parents and not his alien parents. And so, to me, that's why that's why that message was given. That's why Superman is no longer looking to his alien parents. And, what suits him at the end of the movie is his human parents, because that makes him even more human. And he is desperately trying to humanize Superman in this movie. I have an issue with that. And the reason he does that is because this new audience that he is making this movie for, they can only like a certain character or a certain superhero if they can see themselves in that superhero. And we've said this a lot, and we've criticized that a lot with these new movies. And that's how people relate to him. They have to see themselves in it, in the characters. And that's how James Gunn is able to do that with Superman, is to make him more human, even though he is not.
And my quick point I want to make is that we're seeing this as a recurring theme in entertainment. Evil lineage, heritage, parents, right? And then turning against those parents. You saw it in Robert Pattinson Batman. We saw it in Rey's story arc in the Star Wars sequels. We're now seeing it in Superman. Why does this theme recur? Why does that theme recur? That's my question.
Chris, share my screen. I have James Gunn saying why he did this.
Okay, good. Let's get this. How can I remove that to stage? Here we go. Badger,
it's James Gunn. Yeah, he says, I didn't want to take something away from him that was elemental to who he was, but I did want him to deal with a personal crisis, Gunn explains, referring to the big twist. I wanted at the heart of this story to be about Superman, the human being, and him struggle with something about the way he sees himself and his identity crisis, Gunn says, and then finding his new faith in himself through that process. So the easiest way was to change what we expect about the mythology of Superman, but in a way that doesn't really hurt him because he still has his foundation in Ma and Pa Kent.
Yep.
So there you go.
So I have You're trying to make him more human.
So this is not to be picked up later by Brainiac. This is for this movie because he wanted him to have a personal identity crisis.
I have a verisimilitude question. Is that this movie, speaking of Robert,
yes.
And this is happening in our present time, correct? This movie?
Yeah, there's the internet. The internet is part
all the fake AI with everything out there. At no time does anyone go, this has been generated by, Pallywood or something. Like, we talk about fake stuff.
But Lex constantly. Himself does say the message is genuine in the movie internally.
Yeah, but you know what? I was still waiting.
They're told to trust the experts.
To pull out a hard drive and go, hey, you know what? This has been altered. And I wanted to also know why Jor-El did not say you should avoid girls with high body counts. So,
that's what a red flag on.
Well, remember, but
they're productive.
Chlamydia is kryptonite. So
in Superman the movie, Jor-El specifically says you are not supposed to interfere in the affairs of humanity.
You are not one of them.
And the big thing at the end of Superman the movie is he goes against what his father says because he's lost Lois and he travels back in time to prevent her death. And that is a total violation of what his own father told him not to do.
And why did he tell them all those rules? Why did he? Because there's a lot more. I like it's one of the Donner cuts, but there's more scenes of him. Like he goes back after saving Lois, and he's like, "I liked it. I liked the feeling." And Jor-El counsels him, "Careful, don't get addicted with that feeling. Remember why you're safe."
And then he was the moral. Backwards.
He was that's a whole other thing. My point is, Kryptonians were supposed to be advanced. They had the knowledge of the known 28 galaxies. Everything that they had learned before they were wiped out was distilled and given to Cal to pass on the best.
That's everything that Jor-El learned. The Kryptonians didn't know shit. They let their planet blow up. They didn't do anything about it. Only Jor-El knew.
That's
Jor-El told them they believed one other person over him.
Here's the other thing about the AI thing. When we saw that message, what percentage of audience do you think thought that it was AI, that Lex Luthor had made an AI video?
That was the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah. And so now Gunn is just saying, nope, you're wrong. It's real. You know, because again, he's keeping us he's staying ahead of us as an audience.
But if it's going to be
if it hadn't it hadn't been acknowledged as real, we would just have gone throughout the rest of the movie feeling
Give him way too much credit.
Yeah,
he does shit because he thinks it's cool.
No, my biggest issue is that it just happened to be so incredibly convenient for Lex Luthor that it was the exact ammunition that he needed in order to pursue his plans to go after Superman and get the government's backing.
Well,
so if it's real,
I don't think it was convenient. Lex didn't go in there looking for the message. He went in there.
No, he went in there to find something he could use against him.
Destroy and kill Superman. He just happened upon this message.
It happened after the meeting with the government leaders that were like, Superman's so popular, you can't just go out and arrest him right now. You have to dig up dirt on him, so to speak. And he went and he found it. He found some that just so perfectly aligned with what he needed.
Well, his goal was to kill Superman. He wants to kill Superman. He went there to look for a way, like a weakness or something, to kill.
Yeah, but he didn't just go out and attack him directly. He needed government backing.
So why didn't he
the whole point of the movie is he needed
kill him?
Like the point of the movie is he needs government approval. He could kill him at any time, but he would get in trouble. He sets up the Baravian and Jarnapur situation specifically so that the government will give him the green light to put him in the pocket universe. And even Nezzy says I could kill you, but the government has some questions. He literally does all of this to get the green light for the government to let him kill him. Yeah, I'm just explaining what it is.
And I think it's just to make the story just flow like fast paced, boom, boom, boom. There's no time to really ruminate. And that's why I like the Batman so much. And I think it's 2.5 hours or maybe longer. I don't know. But in the Batman, we're allowed to just breathe and let the characters develop. And this just happens like at breakneck speed and we hit the ground running. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. That it has its flaws. And I think at the heart of why this movie shines is because the most important parts of the character shine through. But yeah, I hope that in further installments, it's allowed to breathe. And hopefully with this in particular, that I hope it does lead to a future plot twist or something interesting like Guardians 2, which Star-Lord already thought he knew about his parentage and how his mother died. But then it wasn't a retcon when we found out the truth. It was just we learned more of what happened. Mm-hmm. And if something happens in this, which I hope it does, because it's weird too with Kara. Does they never had conversations ever about his parents and their plans for him? So yeah, it's a plot twist unless we learn more, if it's story for the future.